the dialogue and stuff changes depending on who you kill. Like, if you kill Papyrus, the game is almost completely different. Because Sans doesn't show up at all. He has completely different dialogue in the Judgment Hall. Like, Undyne is all freaked out when she sees you, like, bro, Papyrus missed training. I know he doesn't do that. What did you do to him? Like, there's so many cool interactions and stuff. Let people play the game and make their choices and find out themselves that Pacifist or Geno exists. That's part of the magic of the game. And I feel like that's been diluted, unfortunately, and I really wish we could get back to that point again.
I am
Just
guilty
because a
of
plot
this,
point
since
or
when I
twist is
played
obvious
Undertale
doesn't
with
mean
Mom,
it
I
won't happen.
basically forced
And of course, Toby doesn't
to
seem
do
like the type to
Pacifist
change a plot
first
theme just
time.
because the fandom caught on.
In my defense,
People saying
she
Gas
probably
Whether
wouldn't like having
or
to
not
play
Gas
through the
Train is
game
going to play a major
all over
role,
again.
doesn't really
I know
affect
she
the
didn't
first
like
part of
it
my
when that
opinion,
happened in
but
the
I
DLC,
agree that a
where
lot of
pretty
people
much
think
part of
just
the
because
core
something
experience
seems
is
obvious or it's an
re-experiencing
obvious choice means they can't go with it.
the game a second time.
No,
But
things are obvious
creepier
because they
because
make
Monica's
sense.
doing her shit.
Plots, like, yeah, it's guessable, but it makes the most sense. That's why you guessed it, right?
It's sad, but it's a bit
And the
understandable.
thing with Deltarune is that unlike Undertale, it wasn't delivered to
There
us
is
as
this
one package.
nagging
It was
fear
dropped in
that a lot of
chapters and
people
stuff.
who aren't
Keep
as
in mind, the
dedicated to
story of
playing
this
video
game
games
was basically done.
might decide that
Before
after
Chapter
their
1
first
was
playthrough
released,
that they
the
won't
general
play the
sketch
game
of the
ever
story
again
was done
afterwards.
Before Chapter 1 was released. And the way it was going to be originally was that Chapter 1 was just going to basically serve as the demo, and then the rest was originally all going to come out as one package, but then we moved on to the release schedules.
Believe it or not, no matter how
So,
replayable
it was
a
never
game
supposed
is,
to be like an
a lot of
episodic
people are
release.
happy
That wasn't
playing
the
a game
original
just
structure
once.
of the story. So it's not like, you know, the original.
That's why a lot of people get
experience, you
upset
play
when
the
a game
whole
is
thing,
short.
years between chapters to guess
Especially
what happens next.
with it,
you know, and formulate
if it's costed
theories or
at
whatever.
standard price of $80.
I think that people disregard
It
obvious
used to be
things, right?
$60, but nowadays it's $80.
And
I'm pretty sure.
you know, you should keep your mind open to those as well. I agree with that.
Because inflation's a bitch.
The Ruins is the worst place in the entire series, and it doesn't do a good job setting up the rest of the game, at least visually. Nothing wows me about Ruins, but I guess that's the point of it. It doesn't really work for me, kind of a weak opening area to a game I love.
I disagree.
Ruins is the weakest Undertale area. I do agree with that.
Ruins is
And
great.
not just
I like
because
the
I'm a
pink
speedrunner,
aesthetic.
right? But also, it
Not a
is
lot of level
visually
ones
least interesting.
in
Especially
RPGs
emotionally
or video
least
games in
interesting, I feel
general.
like basically the
are
tornado
pink.
fight is the only thing that really happens there that's memorable. I can't really describe it when I was first playing through the game, though. When I got to Snowdin is when I was like, okay, this game is serious business, and I need to play this, the rest of it all the way through.
Snowdin was way more boring because
about Snowdin.
I just don't personally like
So I kind of agree
snow
with that.
areas
It's a great
in
job,
video
like,
games.
hooking you in.
I think they're
The
dull.
benefit is
Right
that
next
it's incredibly
to
short, so
Paradise-themed
it's
things.
not like
That's why I
it's
still haven't played Mario Sunshine.
You need to get hooked into to go all the way through. It's like you'll get.
Etrian Odyssey 3 is kind of an exception. It is tropical themed, and I guess Honey Pop is as well. It's also tropical themed. Honey Pop 2, Double Date at least.
Big, spectacular animations.
But I dealt with them because the game was very fun. And granted, Sunshine probably is a very fun game as well.
Dragon Ball Z style fight.
But like,
It's just the Undyne fight. That's actually what happens in canon in that fight, where you have two characters going at it in like crazy, like over-the-top anime fashion. The Sans fight, I feel like, would be much more methodical in reality, because that's kind of what it is, right? It's like trial and error. But that is a funny thing to think about for sure. Sans is not Tumblr sexy man material. Absolutely incorrect. Terrible take. Fuck off. Awful. Terrible. Worthless take. Awful. How dare you say that about my favorite Tumblr sexy man? The Snowgrave / Weird Route in Deltarune is more compelling and demoralizing than the Jenna route in Undertale. I've seen a lot of people say this.
I agree,
Personally,
actually.
I don't actually agree with this. I found the complete isolation that you get from Geno to be really spooky. Like, that game is
Yeah, but socially
spooky.
manipulating Noelle is
I
just
think,
so
though, it is a
much
valid
more
take
uncomfortable than
because
genocide.
With Deltarune's,
Killing a bunch of people,
Weird Route,
big deal.
you have
People
to
die all the time.
force somebody else to do
Socially,
these things.
psychologically
In Undertale,
manipulating
you kind
someone,
of
now that's
disconnect
creepy.
yourself from the
That's
character
something
you're
that
playing as
requires
because
way more
they don't
effort
say
and going out of
anything.
your way
They
to
don't
do.
talk to anybody. You can
Because
disconnect
killing is
yourself.
easy.
But
Don't
with
quote me on
Deltarune,
that,
you
okay?
actively have to see the consequences your actions have on a character that people really like, which is genius, by the way. A really cool way of doing it, especially for people who played Undertale, because it means that it's not just the same thing.
That's why I'm never doing Snowgrave.
Which is really cool. So Sorry is a genuinely funny and fun boss fight, and it's a shame that people only know him from the really big quotes controversy. Yeah, I actually, I did So Sorry on October 10th, and I forgot that the fight is actually pretty fun. For the most part, anyway. The attack variety is not there, but that's to be expected from an extra fight. But the jokes were funny. I liked them. I think that people do, it's kind of a bit in my community, like, to be like, so sorry, but people do overly hate on them because of the real life inspiration, which you can completely ignore. This is absolutely a situation where you can 100% detach the art from the artist, because this is just somebody who donated money for a character in a game. Like, sure, I know that they draw subject matter that isn't exactly everybody's cup of tea, but at the end of the day, are they actually really doing any harm? No. Getting upset about it or saying, why would Toby do this? I have to cancel him now or whatever, that's ridiculous. That's silly. No reason to do that. Just because somebody draws something that you don't find to be attractive or whatever. And like, I get that. If you're not into that, you're not into it. If you even kind of look at it and you're like,
the hell's up with all this drama?
But like,
I'm pretty sure
it's also harmless.
I know who they are, but
kind of annoying.
did something happen? I feel like I don't want to know.
Damn, fellow content creator Galaxy really said that about Spamton Deltarune, the funniest character of all time. Nah, I remember Toby did a playtest of Deltarune where one of the playtesters was like, I don't really like this character that much, and Toby was concerned, like, are people gonna like Spamton? Because I like Spamton. It's a certain style, and if you don't like it, you're gonna be like, I don't get it. But I do like the wacky, zany, random things that he does. Every once in a while that could be fun. If he's annoying, but I don't agree with this. Bad hot take. Bad. I like the character.
Well, how did Miara get to... Oh, right.
Undyne is underwritten. She has the least stuff going on when you compare her to the rest of the main cast. Susie and Noelle's romance needs to be developed better. Noelle talks about Susie in almost every scene, and it's easily the most annoying part of Chapter 2. I like the romance, but I feel it'll play out like a watered-down version of Alpine, which is Alfie's Undyne relationship. I wouldn't like to go back in time and get a better ending plot at Deltarune, because that's what Undertale was all about. I don't want the same game again. But lastly, if you hate Flowey, you don't understand Undertale. Hey, I said one hot take. Jeez. Can you all read? No. I actually agree with pretty much all of this. I do think Undyne is the least written of the main characters, and we'll get to this in a second because I have another take lined up here. We'll go into Undyne in just a second. So let's cover the other things. Susie and Noelle, this will get developed. I'm pretty confident that this will be better developed as Deltarune goes along.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right now we're still in the
it is just Chapter 2.
Initiation stages.
You don't know,
in the introductory
But right now, yeah, their relationship kind of sucks.
I think that as the game progresses, their relationship will more naturally mesh together, because I do think they're going to have a relationship at some point. It's too strongly implied, and I don't think Toby would back out of that. That just doesn't seem like something they would do. There's too much implication already.
Why did you call Toby they?
As for go back in time and get a better ending, I don't think that's going to happen. What I do think might happen is that every ending of Deltarune will be the same, in that there will be some sort of event that happens regardless of what you do that just causes something to happen. And I think that's how they're going to maintain that whole, like, only one ending thing. Because, okay, take this hypothetical, for instance. Say a character is born, and 40 years from then, a bomb activates in the center of the Earth, and everybody dies. There's no way to turn the bomb off, and nobody knows about it. In that scenario, there is only one ending. It doesn't matter what that person does with their life. They could be the CEO of the most powerful company in the world. They could be a mass murderer. It could be an amazing philanthropist that helps everybody. It doesn't matter. Shit, everything's gonna blow up in 40 years, right? So that you could maintain that whole one ending thing while still having all sorts of choice and player action and stuff. I think that they might go that route. I'm not sure. As for hating Flowey, you don't understand Undertale. Flowey's an awesome villain. I love Flowey as a villain.
I mean, hating him is the point.
Embodies everything the game is about, and dislike him. He hams it up, too. She's my favorite character in anything ever, but I think Undyne has the worst backstory from Undertale's main cast. Everyone else is interesting, but hers is just, yeah, I trained since I was a kid to beat up humans under Asgore. What else? Where the fuck are your parents? This is what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, Undyne doesn't really have a backstory. Her main character progression is, I don't like humans too. I like humans. Or, some humans are okay, I guess, to quote her directly. I do think she kind of got snubbed in the backstory department, because, like, you know, Alphys has this whole thing with her character progression and development, and, you know, it's a big part of the game. Obviously, Sans has so much lore packed behind him. Papyrus sort of shares in that, too. And hell,
not every character has to be developed. Some characters can just be simple.
It's just kind of
I like Undyne's simplicity.
And, you know, I'd love to see the adventures of teenage Undyne as she goes around and beats up bad guys. My hot take is that several hot takes in this reply thread are wrong. Absolutely. If we look at the original tweet I made, you'll notice that there were 348 replies and I only chose about 20 or so. And it's because all of them fucking sucked ass. These were terrible. You guys have some awful hot takes.
Is that the fucking Mario leitmotif? Dog song? The fuck? Check this out. Beautiful. So this is a fence, and we're gonna jump it. Alright, the grinding is done.
Make this giant map of the Mario universe to try to make sense of all of its locations and characters and how they interact with one another. And one of the more surprisingly deep pockets here was the Donkey Kong family tree. I didn't want to go down an entire tangent exploring every twisted branch in that video, so I figured it would be worth making its own sort of addendum video to explore it here. So of course, there's Donkey Kong. But here's the thing. It's actually Cranky Kong. Yes, it's pretty common knowledge that the original Donkey Kong that kidnaps Pauline in a fit of rage and does battle with Mario on a construction site is actually Cranky Kong in his younger days. So, at some point, Donkey Cranky Kong Sr. meets Wrinkly Kong and gives birth, as we know, to Donkey Kong Jr. Now, we also know that they had another child, Pinkly Kong, Pink Ape that we meet in Donkey Kong Jr. Math. Some people believe this to simply be a recolor of Donkey Kong Jr. and that it isn't actually its own separate character. But the pink fur and the fact that the two can exist on screen at the same time says to me that they are in fact different apes. And I would even go as far as to say that the faded pink J on the shirt would actually make sense if the shirt is a hand-me-down. Maybe Cranky and Wrinkly had to pinch their pennies at a certain point, and so all they had was hand-me-downs for Pinkly. And yeah, I just called her Pinkly because it sort of rhymes with Wrinkly. Donkey Kong Jr., we never really see him make it all the way to adulthood, mates with a female ape, and gives us Donkey Kong 3, otherwise known as the friendly modern-day DK that we see in the rare games, and a lot of times interacting with Mario in his later years. Now, this is where things start to get a little more complicated and speculative, but let's start with what we know for a fact. It has been stated explicitly that Diddy Kong is, in fact, Donkey Kong's nephew. So, this confirms a few things. Donkey Kong has an unknown amount of siblings, and at least one of his siblings is the parent of Diddy Kong. We're never given any information about who Diddy's parents actually are, so we'll be leaving those two unknown. What we do know, however, is that Funky Kong fits the bill to be a sibling of Donkey Kong. And while they never really state explicitly that they're brothers, it is confirmed that Funky is the grandson of Cranky, just like Donkey 3 is. So, going off of the relationship, the physical appearance, and the rhyming names, I'm going to slot Funky in as the older brother of Donkey 3, but not Diddy's father. Because we see Diddy and Funky interact, and there's never any reference to Diddy being Funky's son. There's at least 3 siblings that are the child of Donkey Kong Jr. and his wife, being Donkey 3, Funky, and at least one more, the parent of Diddy. Now, we also know Donkey Kong 3 is dating Candy Kong, who is the older sister of Diddy Kong's girlfriend, Dixie Kong, and they have an even younger sister, Tiny Kong. These 3 sister Kongs come from a different branch entirely. We also don't know who their parents are, but we do know that they have cousins, Chunky Kong and his younger brother, Kitty Kong. Also unknown parents here. So there's a lot going on. There's a Kong that only appears in the Japanese guidebook for Donkey Kong Country 2, called Uncle Kong. He gives Dixie and Diddy tips throughout the guide. The fact that his name is Uncle Kong would lead me to believe that he doesn't actually have any kids of his own, if he's fine with everybody calling him Uncle. So I didn't slot him in as any of our known Kong's parents. Whatever familial link is bonding Chunky, Kitty, Candy, Dixie, and Tiny as cousins. Uncle Kong is a sibling within that mix of siblings. So he's the middle glue tying all of these cousins together. Now, Swanky Kong is notable because he appears relatively similar to Donkey Kong 3 and Funky Kong in terms of his physical appearance. He is mostly found around the island running all sorts of gambling mini-games, but the thing with Swanky is he addresses all of the characters in a pretty dry and unfamiliar, formal tone. So we never really get any clues as to who he's related to and how. I definitely think there's a few possibilities for Swanky. At first, his blue attire was making me think about him possibly being the father of Chunky and Kitty. And Uncle Kong also sort of looks like a con man or a swindler in some sense, which would fit well as the brother of Swanky, a gambler. And the fact that Swanky is always running around, dealing in seedy business, running scams, chasing the bag, would explain why Kitty seems to be a pretty neglected child. He just gets dumped off on Dixie and Funky in Donkey Kong Country 3. So Swanky would fit as sort of a deadbeat dad to Chunky and Kitty. But it's also just as possible that Swanky would be the absentee dad to Diddy, or maybe the absentee dad to Dixie, Candy, and Tiny. Definitely, I think he comes from this same generation of Donkey 3, Funky, Diddy's parents, Uncle Kong, etc. We don't have enough context clues to really slot him in confidently anywhere. There's this fedora-wearing Kong that also looks very similar to Donkey Kong 3, Funky Kong, etc., but he's only ever appeared in Nintendo Power. He's not even given a name, and he's become a giant meme. Now, who exactly is he? It's sort of a similar situation to Swanky. We just don't have enough info, but I definitely think he's also the absentee parent of one of our orphaned Kong children here. I sort of like Fedora Kong as the oldest brother of Donkey Kong 3 and the father of Diddy. The fact that he's just so shrouded in mystery would make that pretty appropriate. But the fedora and how mysterious he is would make for a great fit alongside Swanky's seedy gambling and Uncle Kong's seasoned street smarts. So really, Swanky and Fedora Kong, unknown, but definitely a part of this line of characters right here. Now, to learn more, we have to go even farther back. Cranky Kong, or Donkey Kong Sr., does mention his great-grandfather who had a magical mirror in one bit of dialogue, but nothing else about him is known. Not even a name or any sort of physical description. But in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, we meet Bink Kong, which seems to imply the existence of a common Kong ancestor long ago in prehistory. And we also do meet various other enemy factions that seem to be offshoot mutations, different evolutionary branches on the Kong family tree, such as the Ba-Booms, the bomb-obsessed monkeys from Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, or the helper monkeys, little spider monkeys that help you out during Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Now, at this point in the timeline over here, these creatures start to become very odd, lanky, corrupted with darkness, strange in appearance, just cursed in various different ways. And my speculation is that K. Rool and the Kremlings have actually caused some foul mutations to occur with their building of the Chaos Core and all of these sort of radioactive elements that are being introduced. And that's where we sort of get the Ghastly Kongs from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, the Minkies, who are these weird monkeys that climb trees and attack you in the Donkey Kong Country games, and then Manky Kongs. Now the thing about the Manky Kongs, they're also a faction of enemies that are like outcasted orangutans that attack you in the Donkey Kong Country games, but there are some pieces of material that seemingly refer to Manky Kong as a singular character who has been outcasted from the Kong family. Manky, to me, is presumably the father of Lanky, or maybe the grandfather of Lanky even, but we don't know anything about who he would have mated with. And we also know about one more scrapped Kong called Redneck Kong, who also sort of wears similar attire to Lanky as far as the button-up and the more redneck-esque appearance. So I'm going to slot Redneck Kong in unofficially as Lanky Kong's brother as well, son or grandson of Mankey. And Cranky once refers to Lanky as someone from a twisted branch of the family tree or something like that. So definitely the orangutans and the more gorilla-esque Kongs had some fallout at some point. Now, that's pretty much everything we know. And as you can see, there are still some major areas of mystery left on this tree. Specifically, something that I find troubling is how little we really know about how we get from Cranky Kong to Donkey Kong Jr. to DK Donkey Kong 3. The identity of Donkey Kong III's mother being totally unknown, and the general lack of information in general about Donkey Kong Jr.'s whereabouts in life. This on its own could be chalked up to a simple lack of information being given to us, but there's one more thing that becomes very odd when you start to observe this family and how it interacts with the Mario universe in particular. Now, there will be more about that in the full Mario universe video, but the important detail pertaining to the Kong family in particular is the fact that we see Cranky Kong in his younger years interacting with an adult Mario. And later, we see a friendly Donkey Kong, presumably Donkey Kong III, playing sports, go-karting, and partying with the Mario cast still around the same age. The original Donkey Kong ages and becomes Cranky Kong. So why hasn't the Mario cast aged at all? There's two possible explanations here. Either the humans of the Mushroom Kingdom age at an incredibly slow rate compared to the Kongs, enough so that multiple generations of Kongs would pass in one lifetime of a human. Or there's something darker happening. And there's actually a clue in an unexpected place. Again, we'll get way deeper into this in the Mario video, but we know that Donkey Kong himself has at one point been exposed to the time-traveling and time-manipulating of Bowser through baby Donkey Kong's presence in Yoshi's Island DS. So, Bowser has kidnapped a baby Donkey Kong out of some point in time. This, in conjunction with the strangeness surrounding the lineage of the main three Donkey Kong characters, raises an interesting possibility. Someone got moved around in time. Maybe this explains how Donkey Kong III could be a fully grown adult at the same time as the adult Mario cast, who should be elderly like Cranky Kong by now. In my opinion, this calls the identity of all three of the main Donkey Kongs into question. Is Donkey Kong III actually just an alternate timeline version of Cranky Kong, plucked out of his place in time and unnaturally stuffed into the future? Does this mean that Donkey Kong Jr. died without ever finding love, and that the unknown mother of Donkey Kong Jr. III would in fact be Cranky Kong's mother, because they're actually the same person? Or, in fact, maybe there's a different explanation. Cranky, or the original Donkey Kong, was sent back to the past at some point, and that's why now, in the present timeline, he's old. But I don't know. Something just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't make any sense. But let me not get too off track here. That's pretty much everything we officially know about the Donkey Kong family tree, but there are some loose ends to tie up before we call it a wrap. Firstly, there are some other Kongs, like Bluster Kong, who appear only in the animated series of Donkey Kong Country, but I decided not to include them as I don't feel that the animated show is canon, as it would overcomplicate things severely to take it into account. And even if we did include Bluster specifically, he would be just like Swanky and Fedora Kong in that we can't really say for sure who he's related to or what he has to do with anything. His rivalrous nature with the entirety of the Kong family would suggest that maybe he's just from an unrelated family entirely. Who's to say? But yeah, the gaps, parental abandonments, and traumas found beneath the bark of this wretched tree are just too much for one mind to handle. Thinking about a baby Donkey Kong being ripped from his home by the clutches of the Koopa army, transplanted across time, warping reality and twisting the entire family tree into a nonsensical mess that can't even be comprehended. It's just too evil to think about. I've been driving myself insane thinking about this, but this is only the slightest piece of the puzzle, because the Kongs are simply one cog in the wheel of the Mario universe. I'll catch you next time.
Wow. They grow up so fast. go. I'll go deal with the all-round last.
The software tester walks into a bar, runs into a bar, crawls into a bar, dances into a bar, flies into a bar, jumps into a bar, and orders a beer, 2 beers, 0 beers, 99,999,999 beers. A lizard in a beer glass, -1 beer, where's your beers? Desdane complete. A real customer walks into the bar and asks where the bathroom is. The bar goes up in flames.
The design is so bad it overflows the game and retroactively ruined the last game I played too. Playing Alchemica Story is worse than watching Gibiate, and I know this because I've watched Gibiate. This game did not have a designer, it had 3 Crunchyroll subscriptions in a trench coat pretending to be a designer. If you locked me in a room and told me I had to come up with a worse-paced gameplay experience, I'd settle in for my new life in The Room. Alchemia Story is clearly a test to see what gamers would put up with, and it's safe to say that gamers have failed. This game existing makes gaming as a whole worse. Almost every single decision in this game is questionable or straight up wrong. I would say it's god-awful, but God's not here. God left. God played Alchemia Story and gave up with this universe, and honestly, I don't blame him. They say you learn more from your mistakes than your successes, and if that's true, Alchemica Story has learned more than anything ever. I've spent so long basking in this mistake, they've made me king of Mensa, so grab a cup of tea and settle in as we go on this 10-hour ride of baffling design decisions. Welcome, I'm Josh Dreyfus, and this is Worst MMO Ever, a series where I play every MMO I can find in a journey to find the worst. Drop a like on the vid or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell for all the future notifications, and as always, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon, Twitch and YouTube who keep this channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Today we are playing Alchemia Story. It's free on Steam and describes itself pretty simply as a modern online MMORPG with traditional Japanese-style RPG elements, and that's a pretty grounded description. I like both these things. How wrong can it go? Well, we begin the game in The Void, existing outside of time and space and looking like we broke into the Street Fighter training arena. Your first task is to set some extremely specific camera parameters: distance, speed, rotation axis, battle position. It's quite deep, although you can change all of this later. Now you'll notice that as we're doing this, the game is still downloading, and this happens a lot. Alchemia Story is a cross-platform PC mobile MMO, but there's no optimization for PC, so all assets are downloaded as you need them. This means there's loading screens between 5 to 30 seconds between every single conversation, battle, trade, map change, or cutscene cut. Now there is an option to batch download everything, but that brings 2 problems. 1, it's slower, and 2, it would mean you need the full game of Alchemia Story on your PC, which is a fate nobody should have to suffer. So we've set the camera onto character creation. You can be a tiny child baby boy, or a ripped godlike muscle mummy. Clicking one gives you a list with more specific choices. For example, you can be one of 5 almost identical thin attractive women with different hips, or one of 5 boys who all look like they're on steroids. But this is only if you choose basic creation. Oh, you can go advanced. And now you must set your age from -100 to 100. And it seems that from -100 to 0, you grow in height like an adolescent slender man, and then from 0 to 100 you just get wider like someone who's discovered Uber Eats and lockdown has just started. Then you've got this grid where you can distribute fat and muscle and why is my butt in my calves. You then set your main hair, your secondary hair and your accessory hair and can colour all 3 individually, and you can then change your face shape, and he is absolutely 100% perfect. 10 out of 10, no notes. This is the hero of the game. So I start the game and the download goes to over 100%, and that's just how good Alchemia Story is going to be. It's more game than you could possibly imagine. The game starts, we're told we're on the main quest and we're speaking with Idol the Mayor, so let's address this straight away. If you read the Steam reviews, you'll see one sentiment pop up again and again. This game has a lot of cutscenes, and they're not kidding. In fact, you have to sit through 45 minutes of cutscenes before making any choice or experiencing anything even remotely close to gameplay. And even then, I use the word gameplay in the loosest of terms. And every cutscene, every single one of them is framed in almost the same way. 2 or more characters standing awkwardly close to each other, talking at each other in broken English for ages. Hideo Kojima level writing and directing, this is not. So we're told the world is focused on alchemy, which is both the name of the game and literally never relevant to game. We're told we are a legendary hero and given the legendary hero sword of Sunseed, and then asked if we'd like a fight tutorial. I of course say yes, so behold, combat.
Oh my god, it's downloading. And the OST is good.
If you're thinking, wow, the screen's a bit busy, that seemed a bit messy, a bit rushed, didn't really seem like it imparted the knowledge required to understand combat, then you are spot on. The tutorials in this game are so incredibly badly paced, I understand their systems less than if you just asked me to guess. Like the game says, use the guard skill, but I accidentally click attack, and then the game says, well done, and I'm thinking, the game doesn't even care. And you know what? Why should it? In 10 hours of gameplay, no enemy could even touch me. We're talking taking 1 damage from everything. The only time I died was when I took on the ultra high level dungeon just to see what happens when you die. We'll look more at the combat later because somehow it gets worse. The mayor tells us to never forget him, but I deny his request by forgetting him immediately, and then we meet a captain who tells us about login bonuses and why we're now inside a mine. We were outside on a grassy path just a moment ago, and this is a thing the game does a lot. It will teleport you to wherever it needs you to be, but doesn't tell you how you got there or where you are in relation to where you were. We're then told our partner Yom is fighting, and we must design Yom. Now, Yom is our trusty sidekick who will take centre stage in all of the conversations and all of the fights, being both more interesting than you and more useful than you in every way. Indeed, when you use the auto-run feature, you follow Yom. So make Yo. Of course there's a boomer slider, so I create Josh Wife Hayes, commence the adventures of Strifu and Waifu. And now we're in the mine and told a monster is attacking, and I'll just play this footage raw because I didn't realise I left my microphone on, and there's nothing more genuine than this reaction. It's a stupid rabbit. So now in battles, you've got your partner Yom, and I also discovered you can press V to start auto-battling, but quick note, battles don't happen on the overworld. Enemies wander around the overworld, but bumping into them starts a real-time tactical battle within a small sub-dimension. Other players can see that that enemy is engaged in combat by the red ring floating around them, and other players can join your battle, but you can't see the state of a battle until you join it. When in a battle, you'll only start fighting when you click on an enemy, and while you can then choose your skills from the buttons to the bottom left, you don't need to. Just leave auto battle on, because that will randomly use skills and you will kill everything, even bosses, in 3 hits maximum. And if you're following the game's plot, nothing, literally nothing, can hurt you. You will never die. I don't know why this game has combat. It's the opposite of a challenge. We then meet a girl called Aina who claims she's our rival, so we best grow big and strong to be worthy of her, but also we're best friends, and then we're outside again, and this line of ha-ha combined with deadpan stares has some real unsettling David Lynch energy to it. With that, we have cleared the Battle of Death quest and arrive at the Duchy of Schlinger, where we get taught about the synthesis mechanic. Oh, does this mean some gameplay finally? No, it doesn't. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just click where the game tells you to click. Synthesizing is just crafting. You have to click the Yom menu and then Synth, because everything is done through Yom. You can't do anything by yourself. And on the Synth menu, choose a recipe, and then despite being shown this system now, you won't need it for another 2 or 3 hours, because pacing is a dirty word to this game. We arrive at a tavern, the owner is sick, but then we heal him all within the conversation, and this roller coaster of emotions just keeps going. We're told that we look like adventurers and we should go on a journey outside to meet the Senior Explorer. The Senior Explorer tells us to find a quest, we must seek information from the journey, except again, no you don't. You just click Yom and then choose navigation and find all the quests. But as I discover, opening the Yom or the navigation menu has about a 50-50 chance of freezing the game for about a minute.
Why would you bother protecting Uma Mad Cow? That was literally the most useless thing you've ever done.
Welcome back to all the viewers who just glanced over. Hope you guys are doing okay. Back in the tavern, we are asked to go to the nearby field to find some mushrooms, so we set off. And every map in Alchemia Story is relatively small, but the minimap has very little info on it, so finding quest mobs or quest items can take some time, unless you use auto run, and Yom will just lead you directly to everything. We're given a harvest tutorial, which is stand by something and click harvest, and then we get into another battle because we're stealing mushrooms, and this battle, the loading screens, both before and after, are longer than the battle itself. Combat adds nothing. Combat actively slows the pacing of this game down. Oh, that's why they've added it. Because this game is an experiment in bad design, and this is a bad decision. Win the fight, and then meet Fendark, a guy so pointless and edgy, both his parents were circles. He says something so generically anime, I think I've blocked it out of my own sanity, and another pop-up about login bonuses. In fact, 4 pop-ups in a row about bonuses and gacha rewards, one after the other. Just in case you've forgotten the game has a shop, don't worry, we'll get to that later. And now, after about 45 minutes, we can finally actually play the game. Now, I say play, you can run around. There's no jumping. Movement also has this strange
I am playing in absolutely the lamest way possible,
about 5 seconds. Remember,
and I don't care.
You've also got a 300% buff on everything for 30 days, because that's not an awful decision, so of course they did it. And by virtue of just existing, we've got 7 free gifts which you can open the mail to receive. I open the quest screen and get jump scared by my own partner, because they're always just ominously staring at you from behind the window, and then I work through some welcome use emoticons. Okay, cool, I can do that. You see on the right hand side, you've got this text box. Well, your choices are take up a quarter of the screen, take up half the screen, or no text box. You can change this from text to emote with this button to the bottom right. And there is a quest called Let's Try Gacha, but let's not. So instead, I go and steal some fruit. Whenever you do an interactive context action like this, you lock yourself into it, and movement is now disabled until you click end. Speak to some NPCs who haven't loaded in, because not even they want to be in this game, and if you've been playing up to this point, the constant grating repetitive music will be wearing down your desire to remain alive. Sell mushrooms to this trader girl, and honestly, Alchemia Story feels, pacing-wise, like a story written by a child, but they hand you the story with pages missing. I get given some potatoes, told I'm now level 17, and congratulated for mastering cooking. I have picked a mushroom and held a potato. I am now Master Chef. We now meet the main character, a girl who dramatically dies of hunger and then rushes us for our potato. It's like the game is trying to hit all of the cringy anime stereotypes. It turns out this girl isn't a girl, but actually a monster, and she's thousands of years old. old, and her name is Pretty Girl, and we gain 2 levels by talking to her, and the next quest is make 11 gacha rolls. Now, you might be familiar with the classic gacha 10 pull. Well, we're spinal tapping this and going to 11. You get 11 free rolls per day. This means watching a quick animation of not you taking down an enemy, because why would you be involved in this game, and then seeing the 11 items you get. Now, you can view gacha items in one of 3 menus, but only one of them lets you equip things, and we'll see more of this later. And items don't always display their stats in an easy-to-find way, but it won't matter, because nothing in this game matters. We're now told if we want to be adventurers, we should go to the church and get the blessing of God, because this will mean if we die, we respawn at the church, so death just isn't a thing in this world. Unfortunately, there's another adventurer who is late for this ceremony, and we need to go and wake them up, and that is something our cameo story does a lot. You are not even the main character of the story you are in. Every story beat revolves around somebody else or something else. You are a messenger of the game's story to other, more worthy NPCs. Right, so we meet Yuki and Karen, nicknamed Kitty and the Brave, a name suggested by Yuki and denied by Karen. We sit through a 7-minute church scene where the priest goes on and on about how important Yuki and Karen are to the world and blesses them with a long and intricate prayer, and then when they finish receiving the 9 blessings of St. Weave, the priest remembers that we exist and says, God bless you. That's it. That's all we get. It's like we're an imposition for the game itself. So now, for the blessed of conscience, we follow Yuki and Karen to the field outside, where they attack the biggest monster they can find and just straight up die. Like they get one shot, instantly killed. I'm kind of hoping the monster does the same to me and my suffering will end, but nope, we kill it instantly. This whole section is anti-tutorial.
Nice.
The more I play, the less I understand. I should have been aware what I was getting into, and the Steam's page uses this screenshot as an advert. I tried the batch download function, and despite having decent internet for the UK, it takes over 3 hours to get to 20%. You know what, I'll just suffer through the loading screens. Logging back into the game gets you 3 pop-up shop adverts, and I now have 5 daily gifts and 3 daily achievements. What did I achieve while I wasn't here? I decided to try and explore the town, but there really is very little to do. There's a treasure chest hidden by some trees filled with crafting material that you don't need, and every door in town seems to contain a bit of lore, but I fear that reading them would make me end up knowing less than I know now. To equip gear, you don't go to the items and then gear menu. That's idiotic. Why would you do that? You have to go to the character and then gear menu. Completely different thing. What a dum-dum you are for not realizing that. I throw on the gear gained from the god-awful gacha and then head into the church, and Yuki and Karen are alive again. They have been denied the sweet release of death, and this hell continues. We're told God's protection extends to all the venture maps, but isn't present in some towns, so don't die in a town or you die in real life. Enna, our rival, asks us to help kill a boss in the Village of Destruction, because doing so will get us a border pass, which apparently we need, because you can't leave the village without one, and we need to do that. Literally never given a reason why, but we do. Stop questioning the plot, you sussy backer. So we head to the neighbouring village, and isn't this the location from the start of the game? The outside bit where the mayor was before we got teleported to the mine? Well, it probably is, because the mine is a place in this village, and now there's a boss fight, and you stand in this ring to trigger it. You meant to need 7 people to do this fight. I hope we can solo it. Oh look, of course we can. You kill everything in 2 hits. Whoever balanced this game was either actively having a stroke while programming, or just smashed their keyboard against their face and hoped for the best. Probably both. We're told this incredible feat of skill can get us a border pass, and then our character goes, Border pass. Yes, character, border pass. The thing that was incredibly important for you some reason 5 minutes ago, and now we've got it. You don't know why we ever wanted it. That border pass. To keep myself sane, I've decided I'm role-playing a character with dementia. It's the only way to explain the disjointed narrative. Return to the tavern to get the pass, and I can actively feel my brain cells dying while continuing to play. There's no balance, no pacing, no coherence, no stakes or no connections. Everything feels empty. It's like playing through an ADHD weeb's power fantasy dream. The game has so many systems, the law of averages said they should have gotten at least one of them right by now, by pure chance, and yet they have not. We get the border pass, make our way to the border, and meet the border guard, who proudly claims this is what I protect, protecting the border. We then have a cutscene of us leaving into the big wide world, and then hear rumours about a war starting. Honestly, you know what, at this point, good. If the alternative is the game continues, I'm joining the war on the side of war. So now we've left town. What happens? Well, war gets mentioned once, both girls stare at you, and then we go back to the tavern from the previous town because war is scary. I then get an achievement for getting 10 achievements, and then get told we need to go and help one of the king's maids. They're in danger. Where are they? They're by the border gate, the place we've just come from. So we find the maid and they need some medicine, so we find 3 items and use the synth system to make it. Remember, synth, the system we had the tutorial for 3 hours ago and haven't needed till now? Our reward for doing this is more backspace, which is irrelevant, and 2 more pop-ups for the shop, so fine, what's the shop like? Alchemia Story is a gacha game. Weapons, armor, pets, mounts, all mostly come from gacha, so I counted. There are 36 separate gacha collections currently going on. One of them is the daily free collection, but you have to scroll down past all the others to get to it. Some of them use tickets you can earn through the main quest. There is also a regular shop. Both gacha spins and shop items use orb premium currency, but the game very specifically tracks the difference between free orbs that you earn from gameplay and paid orbs that you can buy in oddly sized packs. And some gacha spins can only be made with pay orbs, despite the orb symbol being the same for both of them, so you can't actually tell there's a difference. The gem packs, or orb packs, are also organised so you start with mid-size packs, then small, then big, which feels odd. So I roll some free gacha and win a cake shield. Okay, so we're just throwing all aesthetic cohesion out now, are we too? It can go enjoy pacing and character motivation around the back of the sheds to be shot. So after losing all hope for the game, I browsed the shop, and alas, the last little bit of hope I didn't even know I still had. The main plot now sends me back to the church, and the priest greets us with, "You must be explorers. We met earlier. You blessed me. There was a whole ceremony. Is this a meta joke? Am I so inconsequential in my own game, even the NPCs can't be bothered to remember me? We're told we need to find the magical union stone to form a bond with someone else, and this is a very drawn-out in-game explanation way of explaining guild chat. We're told that talking to others is important, but after 5 minutes standing in this strangely populated main square, I've seen enough in-game chat to decide I don't want to talk in this game at all. Another player even unironically uses the phrase "milady." That's the vibe we're going with right now. The next map is called The Road to God, and I mean great, because I've got some questions for him, and they're all variations on the word why. And then we fight a pig on the Union Stone. I say fight, we hit it once. It's more like we're bullying local monsters. After the fight, we meet a girl called Manna. Her father is sick and needs medicine, so we agree to help her, and she also kind of wants the Union Stone,
but we promise we'll bring it back to her
what the fuck? Church dude. You might also be seeing these little icons around the game world. They're context actions, like sit on a rock, because that's what they do. In-game, all this gameplay maybe was getting a little intense for you. Why not have a nice sit down? Oh, this bell icon also flashes whenever you receive an achievement or an award, and the game gives you achievements and awards for everything, so this is always flashing. I feel quite bad for the legendary hero sword because it's been immediately replaced by gacha, but that's how these games go. Back in town, we come dangerously close to something resembling a plot. Turns out the Union Stone was just a regular stone, and what makes it magical is our belief in it, power of suggestion and all. The real Union Stone legitimately was the friends we made along the way. It seems the 2 NPCs we've met so far, Manna and Enna, are longtime friends and they chat, and it means they now get more character development than we do. I also realise I've got a ton of subquests which explains random fringe mechanics, but I'm not really struggling yet or needed to use them, so I don't bother going to do them. Some angry customers in the tavern demand some mushrooms when we get sent to collect some more, and while I'm here I can see the quest, defeat the Grasslands boss. Now I assume this is a wandering enemy, but it's not. You need a boss battle ticket to attempt it, and you get those from finishing daily quests. I do find the events list, and on it a dungeon list, so I queue up for a dungeon and get teleported there, and it's literally just one big blob of land with some enemies on it that you can grind for experience. So I collect 3 mushrooms, get into some fights, enemies hit 0 on me repeatedly, so while fighting, let's have a read of some reviews. I played 31 minutes of it, but I didn't actually play that. No matter how much I skipped, there was always another part I didn't play that I had to skip until it got repetitive and tedious. Played this game back in my mobile days. It's got a really grindy aspect to it, but it's fun to play nonetheless. Played this game completely free to play, and I've gotten just as far as someone who paid, mainly because the game practically gives you gems for completing quests and logging in. Most don't do that. So far, after almost 40 minutes of gameplay, I am still in cutscenes. I am not even convinced that there is any gameplay at this point. A decent mobile port with some jiggly anime boobs, but it does have pretty bad gacha, monetization, and issues like translation, controls, and UI that need to be worked on. The English is god-awful in this, tons of spelling mistakes and sentences that barely make any sense. I feel like I'm reading something an AI tried to generate and it was slapped onto a game for story. Like, you could have at least proofread the start of the game so it doesn't look like a 5-year-old wrote it. Loading, conversation, repeat. In almost an hour of playtime, that was my experience. If I wanted to play a game that felt like a visual novel, I'd play one of those. Don't waste your time on this one. While in the game, you can switch your active chat channel from between 1 to 9,999, which makes me think they vastly overestimated how many people will be talking at once. Or you can choose to play solo, which removes the one and only slither of fun the game has of watching weebs argue. We quest more and fall into a trap, and then some guy called Kane shows up to attack us, but then a mysterious hooded girl appears and fights him, and this girl is Mao-chan. This is the game's mascot, and her chibi-fied figure appears almost exclusively on all of the buttons. You'll notice this is yet another cutscene involving everyone except us. The game is allergic to any narrative even close to the player. We return to the border map, and this message board has messages from all the players themselves, which is actually quite a nice touch. Okay, the one compliment I do have for the game is the general outside environments are lovely. The colours are nice, sightlines are good, ambience is fantasy and anime. The game looks decent. We arrive in the town of Abul, but get denied entry because there are too many refugees trying to seek sanctuary from the war that we haven't seen anything about, but we're told if we want to be allowed in, go and kill 3 bears. Outside, we meet a young boy who begs us for food. His name is Tinkle, and I'm sorry that your parents hated you. Alchemia Story is a stunningly brilliant example of a stunningly terrible game. Everything except the gacha is designed badly. It breaks every game design rule that existed and a few which don't. I'm actively trying to die and can't. It's like this is the worst isekai world, and our protagonist craves the sweet release of death but is denied it. I just run the main questline until something remotely challenging happens, and
I meant to use Dust Devil.
It doesn't.
My bad.
The closest thing the game even gets to being exciting is when a bear slaps my wife through, and the last time that happened we all had tadpoles in our brains. I get the play for 5 hours achievement, which honestly feels more like a sobering moment of reflection than an actual achievement. Fendark returns because the game needed to drive the plot forward, and it'll be long dead before it recognises the player character as having any agency at all, and now we're told to go and complete our job quest because somebody on the design staff had once played Final Fantasy XIV. So jobs, you choose a job and then get a job stone to activate it. Literally exactly like Final Fantasy XIV. So we go to the fire cave to find a stone, and I recognise this haunting background music, but I can't place where...
How do I kill the Kraken? Walk through.
Find the stone, and I recognise this haunting background music, but I can't place where from. Feels like an RPG with a temple or an ancient religion. Does anyone recognise this? We grab the stone and then somehow capture the magical essence of this fox monster within it, and this is never relevant again, so we hand the stone in and change classes, and I choose Astrologer. So we literally went, here is a rock I found in a cave, I am now a trained astrologer. Feels more like a geologist in denial, but I am not one to question Alchemia Story. Also, when you change jobs, you get boosted to level 50. So what was the point of leveling beforehand? The one system you were doing semi-competently, gaining experience, is also pointless. Return to the border and your job change does not matter at all. You were an untouchable god killing everything in 2 hits before. You are an untouchable god killing everything in 2 hits now, except now you have a small name tag saying, hello, my name is Astrologer. Your attacks are the same too. I miss the void. I miss the orientation screen. Remember that? I mocked it back then, but calibrating the camera was genuinely the most gameplay this game has. Our next quest is find 4 mushrooms, because the quest writer has a thing for mushrooms, and when you've paid good money for a mushroom graphic, my god, you're going to use it. And now a mystery plot. This guard accuses us of stealing a load of city weapons, and he says he cannot be Fule, but Fule he may have been. We say it's not us. He says you're lying. We say we're just adventurers. Just normal adventurers. Just innocent adventurers. Anyway, he says the weapons have been stolen, and until they are found, we are the main suspects, so we go and look for them. And this is the only time the main player is directly included in the plot, and it's to accuse us of a crime we didn't commit to kickstart a series of events which, again, don't involve us. We kill Topo, the repeating mini-boss. He takes 3 hits, which in this world makes him the tankiest tank that ever did tank. Topo says he bought the weapons from someone privately, and then guard Frank says, that's not enough evidence, we should investigate more. And I can't help but thinking, Frank, isn't investigating crime literally your job? Why am I doing this? Why are you asking the prime suspect in your case to investigate their own crime? Anyway, it turns out that this pirate smuggler and Frank are actually both corrupt and in cahoots. Frank and the pirates sell weapons to the local monsters, then kill the monsters and take them back, and then sell them again. But Frank tells us the king will never believe us. Thankfully, Frank drops his wallet while running off, so we go and see the king, and oh hey look, it's the maid we helped from earlier. The king and his harem question how guard Frank is so rich, and eventually do believe us, and the day is saved. But hang on, Frank just discovered an unlimited money glitch. You all have no problem killing monsters. You've asked me to do it loads. Why don't we just do this all the time? I understand what he's done is wrong, but I'm trying to understand how, based on everyone else's actions. Anyway, you get 7 achievements for exposing Frank's little money generation scheme, and finally I can join a dungeon. Nobody queues with me, so let's solo this. Enemies hit 26 on me. My god, I may actually have to watch my health bar move a little. This dungeon is a series of small rooms connected by arrows. You have a progress meter advanced by visiting new rooms and killing enemies. Takes about 10 minutes to reach the final boss. Again, it's Topo. He's everywhere, but the final room is much more grand. Topo has 80,000 hit points, so I'm hoping for a challenge, but again, no. You win and get rubbish loot. Dungeons are pointless. Everything is pointless. We return to the bar. There's some random dude hitting on some of the girl NPCs. He's shut down. Then there's some high school level drama going on, and we're sent to the Village of Immortality. Imagine growing up and having to decide between moving to the Village of Destruction or the Village of Immortality. What a difficult choice when moving house. Arrive and meet the girl in white, getting creepy evil vibes from you instantly. It seems she is a sorceress who grants eternal life, and so we're sent to help an old man and give him eternal life. So we go to his house, and why is this the camera angle? Why is it the point of view from the bedridden old man? Did the game forget that we are meant to be a character? You aren't even standing amongst the other characters that you can see. You're just straight up not in the story anymore. This old man genuinely and passionately hates his wife because she's old and he isn't attracted to her anymore, and she's clearly been Stockholmed into loving him because she endures the abuse. There's no joke here. That's literally just the dynamic of this relationship. It's revealed that the repeating boss Topo is actually the devil, so we kill him again, and then get some more free gacha pulls, and nothing good comes of this. Back to the main quest. I put a bandage on my waifu's nose, which makes her 800% more kawaii, and now we're sent to kill a murderous monster, but shock reveal, the monster is the old man. Turns out the immortality of this village is granted by the woman in white, but it's also a curse, because you need to eat meat or you'll become a monster. Noted? You don't need to eat human meat, just any meat, and you'll be fine. So a bacon butty in the morning and you're good to go. But with this, the old man agrees to leave the village, and we just sort of go away. The world feels like it's full of competing main characters with no story to tell. We kill 10 Melomi for 10 seeds, and I've got 40 achievements by now, then collect 10 red dyes and find some limestone and coal, and none of this is shown on the minimap, so you need to use auto-run. I synthesize some flowers, and now I'm told this recipe will take 5 full minutes to synthesize, so stand or spend premium currency to speed this up. So if you were in any doubt about where this game's priorities lie, here they are. Wait and
Alright, if it heals one more time, I'm just
money
gonna
and
reset.
progress. Then 8 solid minutes of running later, we get to the fortified city and we're sent to find an ancient amulet which is in some tunnels guarded by Glenn the Guard. So we fight Glenn, and this is the only fight with an ending animation. But it turns out the amulet was housing an ancient civilization destroying evil, and Glenn was keeping it safe, and we've released it, so we just slap the demon of unimaginable chaos around like 3 times, then they're defeated and the world is safe again. Are we God? Is that the story? Are we like a bored teenage deity just living out directionless power fantasies? I try queuing for some elite dungeons, easy or too easy, medium or too easy, hard or too easy, and super hard or literally impossible. Suddenly you're hitting 0 on enemies. So the balance in Alchemia Story is either impossible to lose or impossible to win. There's no in between. I spent about another hour doing every subquest I can find, learn about housing, get a servant girl, get an ice axe, meet Bob the Miner, which is like Bob the Builder but younger, fight a palette-swapped Nessie enemy called Red Nessie, and then do the Battle Master quests for more useless gear. I do the Add a Friend quest, set a skill, learn about maps, basically all the stuff you've already been doing, but now the game tries to explain it to you and suddenly you understand it less. Eventually Josh Waifu Hayes says, should we keep going? And you know what? No, we should not. Alchemia Story is what happens when you throw a load of mid-2010 animes into a blender and pour the resulting sludge over a Genshin Impact body pillow into a vaguely game design shaped program. The gameplay is bland and uninspired. The combat system is actively pointless because the balance isn't there. There's no skill needed. The main character is ignored by both main and side plots, and the pacing is so bad it's almost a satirical meta look at how bad pacing can be, except it's actually a real game. Save your time and hard drive space by just slapping yourself with a copy of Rent a Girlfriend instead for several hours. So to end the review, I will award Alchemia Story out of 10. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and our Discord. And as always, have a great day.
I don't think I have any of these left. Bruh. I just wanted to kill a Kraken. Alval was just a convenient excuse I used. Anyway, I have time, and by that I mean I really can't do. There's not much else I can do before it's time for school again, other than play. So, let's go beat the last of them, and then we're gonna continue on with Cyclopean Haunt. Alround should be in the previous page, so I need to go back. Alright, weak to fire. There's an algorithm to this boss. And then there's this bitch. Yep. I don't know if Rex Hasta can deal damage. I'll have to check later. Okay, yeah, it does deal more damage. It's a one-turn debuff. Unfortunately. But assuming I can spam it, it'll be great. Everyone can benefit from it. I really need to have better reading comprehension. I overvalue and undervalue some things because I don't read things well enough. Yeah, there's a boss I still haven't been able to kill in the Porcelain Forest, right? I'm gonna go kill that as well and then I'll end it. Nice one. Good enough. I gotta pee. Let's see here. Do I start with defensive or offensive buffs? 3000 is 9% of its health. Can finish this realistically in a swift manner, potentially. Whoa! Wow, I got all the binds. That's what's up, baby. Let's go. $100,000. That's all of the that's all the money I've spent so far staying at his inn. And that's every request in the game done. I don't plan on completing the map for the ocean. That's just a lot of work. Okay, there's still some fish quests left. There's one fish quest left. So I guess I'll do that next. Yeah, the anemone is the easiest. I mean, it's weak to all elements. And only has 17,000. Alright, 30,000, which means its healing ability heals it by half of its HP. Wow. But hey, it's weak to everything. What? Oh, and it's not very good against leg binds. Alright, so it has an easy way to defeat it, but gosh darn is it annoying. For some reason, the end game bosses have actual weaknesses. Meanwhile, at some point, the overworld bosses just stopped giving a damn about weaknesses. Where's the nine-tailed fox? There it is. Oh, it's immune to magical damage. It is now able to use spells. What does that mean?